We're live? Okay, we're live, I guess. So I'd like to go ahead and call the committee to order for laws, ordinance, zoning, and permits. This is the April 5th meeting. Note that all members are present. Dr. Felder and I forgot your name last name.
For a guy who gets his last name.
I know, you're terrible.
Just calling him any variety of Richard,
Ms.
Ridge,
Alt,
and
and I apologize to her. It must be that age thing catching me here. And Mike Richard. On the back of the minutes, you should have already gotten a copy of the minutes from our last meeting. If there's no changes or anything like this, I'd entertain motion to.
I'll make that motion to pass the minutes as presented.
Okay, I have a motion from Dr. Felder,
I'll second.
and second by Ms. Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. The minutes are accepted. The agenda for tonight, we have 3 items on there. Is there anything to add or to take off of that agenda? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Hall made
I
the
will
motion.
second.
Dr. Felder second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. The agenda has been approved. We'll go right into the first item, which is a property transfer to the Port Authority under Ordinance 2022-17. Who would like to take this?
well, I'll take a piece of it and point out, I did this map where it's colored. I'm not sure where that came from our office. I maybe didn't see it. I thought the piece on Pershing east of the tracks was included in this, and that's why it didn't go through before. Is that the case?
We still don't own that. It's owned by Eagle Crusher.
It's
That is-
Crawford County.
Yeah, Tom, it's actually, we've contacted Eagle Crusher, they're willing to donate it to the city. If you want it to be part of the Port Authority transfer, we're gonna have to do that first. Or if you wanna just go ahead with the transfer of the other land, you can do that now and then transfer it once we get it. But it's owned by Eagle Crusher
It's a
currently.
beautiful trackside development lot.
It is certainly.
Train goes
gorgeous
by.
place, yeah.
How big is that? Got one other question when we get down to, how large is that lot parcel? Does anyone know for sure? The one that's on east of the tracks?
I don't know,
I'll
Tom.
make a note of that. All right, so what this is, all the blue stuff is what we own, and it's conveying to the Port Authority of that for $0. I think I saw in the ordinance. So it's to affect the future sale of that into either 1 or 2 developments. Lots 461, 62, and 63 are really the ones that are the ones that the local business is proposing to put a new building on and hire a yet to be determined number of people.
Mr. Mayor, on the,
Yeah.
excuse me, I'm sure, on the Pershing, the east of the tracks.
Yeah.
How far east and how far north does that?
Well, you can see it's kind of there's more ground on the back behind coverts there
Okay,
than there is in the front. It's an odd shaped piece, isn't it?
right.
So, again, that's what I was trying to determine. I would suspect the business would be more than happy to convey that. They'd have to maintain it otherwise.
What business, are you talking about Eagle?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've expressed a willingness to convey.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm a step slow on that one. But anyways, the essence of the ordinance is to convey the blue parcels. I expect you'll see a second development on 229, 460, and 230. But the first deal, the first project that they're trying to put together involves the 61, 2, and 3.
Is this that area that's just like all concrete?
Yes, yes.
No, we've done phase 1, we, the city, have, since we acquired it, have done both phase 1 and phase 2. We know that the area that we're talking about, most immediate, couldn't be done with, couldn't become residential without a fair amount of remediation. So you never know quite what you're gonna get into when removing, soil. It's, and we can talk about it if you want to, but they're what I consider trace elements. But they're still above a standard.
Right. Well, I knew the EPA had come in by us and tested it, found it to be safe as it sits there right now.
Yeah, there's a report about it. Nothing has to be done for commercial. If it were to be redeveloped into residential, there'd be, we'd have to meet a different standard.
Right.
So.
And I understand that, there, like you mentioned, Mayor, was there is an interested party in those first 3 lots, the 461, 462, and 3.
Yeah. I wouldn't rule out the same company buying all of it, but right now it's the most active is on those 3 southern parcels.
Well, I know this was this whole parcel was donated to the community in the first place. So I think that, I really don't think we should hold this up getting moved to the Port Authority so they can, start the wheels going, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Any questions? I would agree with you. Any questions about why the port or, go on that?
The port will take it, so that way it doesn't have to go through all of the regular stuff that the city were to.
We'd have to offer it for sale for 6 weeks. And anyone could bid $1 more than they could tie up the property.
Right.
That is kind of, I want to say it's a problem unique to Gallion, but it could be a problem with that parcel. Hey.
So the agreement that we have here goes along with ordinance 2022-17.
It does.
Yep.
The ordinance and the agreement will need amended at the committee at.
Yeah, we just have a legal description issue, but it'll be way clearer by next Tuesday.
Yeah, the 4.8.
We know what to do with
Yeah,
it.
the 4.80 will change.
Any other questions?
That's what I was gonna.
I don't think so. I think it's good that there's someone who wants to develop it and make use of that land. I don't think we should hold that back.
No, I agree. If there's no other questions from the committee, can I have a motion to send ordinance 2022-17 to full council?
I'll make that motion.
Dr. Felder made the motion,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Saul. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. This will go to full council then. Next on the agenda is the authorized internet auction. Gov deals, ordinance 2022-29.
You can make your chief.
I can take it.
Okay.
We did this last in 17, in the last one. This is just to get rid of property that we don't need anymore. I've asked all of the superintendents to take an inventory. We have some generators. PD has stuff that they confiscate, that kind of thing that we just have no use for from the city's perspective, but it has value. Last time we got rid of all the old cruisers and dump truck and a bunch of stuff that was sitting out in the wastewater plant. So just cleaning up and getting rid of stuff we don't need. And this company has an online auction service, and that's the easiest way to do it rather than hold an in-person auction like the good old days.
It's easier, but it's also, that's how you have to do it. You have to use the online.
Well, it gives you some advantages and quicker and, yeah.
I would think because I'm assuming it has a greater reach there's more of a opportunity to get a better return on those items that we're trying to.
Yeah, you have a larger pool of potential buyers.
Right.
You don't have to staff it with having people there to try to carry it out, you know, to take it to a specific site. So it's usually pretty efficient.
And that's the idea, to change any of this stuff into usable for the community. Does anybody have any questions?
I will say that the contact information has changed, because I pulled up the information from 2017. The name from, contact persons of Roger Gravely will change to Joe, looks like Denbeck, and the address and stuff is the same, and I think they go by Liquidity Services as doing business as GovDeals, so that name will be added to there along with GovDeals, but.
Do we need to change that now then?
Well, yeah, if you
You
just
might
send
as
it out
well
as amended,
save
yeah.
it from doing it on Tuesday.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what do we need to amend then on that?
Just add Liquidity Services under the GovDeals and change the name from Roger Gravely to Joe Dembeck, D-E-M-B-E-K.
Do I have a motion to make that a change in this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to amend the ordinance to change it to Liquidity Services and to amend the contact person to Joe Dembeck.
I have a motion from Ms. Hall,
I'll second.
second by Dr. Fellner. All in favor?
Um,
Aye. Motion carried. Back to the original ordinance then.
I'll make a motion to, forward amended ordinance 2022-29 on full council.
Motion from Dr. Fellner,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Ault. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. This ordinance 2022-29 will then be moved on to full council. Third thing on the agenda tonight is the discussion that we had started essentially last month, the Guyan Codified Ordinance, which is referring to duplexes in the R1C zoning. I'm not sure where we're going to start this discussion, and I see we have a number of folks in the gallery tonight. I think what we originally had was the question was we have some older homes in the community in the R1C that it's some folks are wanting to change them, and if I step on this, Thomas, would you please make sure I correct me, that the if there have been essentially if they have for some reason not been a duplex housing, after so many years it automatically reverts or stays as a single family. Am I?
Well,
I'm not saying that correctly.
there are two matters that have been discussed, sort of interchanging, and really they're two separate matters. One is the idea of a non-conforming use. That could be a duplex, it could be a commercial building, it could be any kind of building that once zoning is changed, it no longer matches the zoning. And there is, as you mentioned, Mr. Richard, there is a period of time, which is state law, in terms of how long you can voluntarily discontinue that use, and then it goes to whatever the zoning is. Let's say it's a commercial building sitting in a residential area, it would go to residential. But what you've got on the agenda tonight is really broader than that, and it's the basic question of whether or not the city of Guyan would like to consider changing its ordinances to allow duplexes in areas that previously they've not been allowed in. And just in a real ballpark way, if I could just share this overview, Guyan is really, when it was rezoned in 2009, I'm not sure anyone would say they did a tremendous job with that rezoning. We have a less, or fewer is the better word, fewer residential districts in terms of number than most other communities have. And the majority of Galion, in terms of at least 50% of the property, and certainly over 50% of the residential use in Galion, is R1C. And it stretches from east to west, north to south. R1C has, since 2009, not allowed duplexes as what's referred to as a permitted use. They're not allowed as a conditional use. They're, quite frankly, just not allowed in there. For that reason, someone who might want to consider a duplex, either by transforming a current house or by putting a duplex somewhere on a current existing lot that might be empty, or taking down a house and putting that there, they don't have that opportunity. And it's pretty glaring as an omission in the 2009 ordinance that they're not allowed. So the Planning Commission looked at this a couple weeks ago, and I was asked to look at some other ways or different kinds of ways that you could integrate duplex opportunities into current single-family housing. And what you've got before you there is a very simple document. I looked at 5 communities, and you have them in front of you, just to give you an idea of some of the creative ways this has been handled across Ohio. Basically, there's 3 ways that this has been handled in terms of what I can find so far. First of all is to create a conditional use for duplexes, which means that any time one is contemplated, it would come to the Planning Commission for approval. But it nevertheless would be allowed if the Planning Commission approves it. And that is the basic way it's handled in Tiffin and Worcester. In Kenton and Oroville, it's actually a permitted use, but they only allow it in certain areas. So, they would say this street, or in the case of Kenton, so many feet away from a non-residential, I think it's 200 feet, no, 100 feet. So if a lot is within 100 feet of a non-residential district, you can put a duplex there, or transform a current house into a duplex. So, again, the first one was a conditional use. The second one is a permitted use, but just in certain areas. So they wouldn't have to come to the Planning Commission at all. And then the Tip City, which is the third one, the third idea is to create a special use, which is a special set of criteria solely for the purpose of, in this case, duplexes. And it's very specific in terms of what they have to have in place. Fire suppression system, or the code, so that there's the correct rating between the dwelling units, and a few other things. So the bottom line is communities are doing this in different ways. All 3 of these would be available to Galion. You'd have to kind of pick which one you would want if you do want to move down this path. Again, sort of from a procedural point of view, I probably am 60% of the way to where I want to be, but the next Planning Commission, I'm going to be sharing this with them.
If I recall, Mr. Palmer, the specific issue that was presented at the last committee meeting was a structure being rehabilitated that was originally built as a duplex. So it's very different from turning a single family structure into multifamily.
Yes.
It's a completely different situation. And I see that Mr. Baldinger is here. I'm sure he could share many tragic stories about what he would find. But I thought that this was specifically unique, and that it was actually more simple than complex. obviously I'm not understanding the situation, but your reference to the zoning, the rehash in 2009, is there not a way to incorporate into that zoning a small paragraph to allow those in research that have been originally built as multifamily structures to return to that and amending the code, which I assume that we adopted that reverting back to single family from the Ohio code.
Well, it was, I don't know, Doctor.
Okay.
It was in 2009, I
All right.
wasn't privy to, I don't know.
So I get, my question is, wouldn't in, and I don't want to, use each unique case to provide their own sentence in the
Yeah.
code.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have, and I don't know if it's, I've got a duplex in my backyard that was specifically, you know, 2 entrances, staircase, you know, originally built that way. So I mean, there's gotta be some cases that it would be reverting back to the original use. If it was a duplex, then it would be allowed. I guess that's my idea.
Yeah, and Doc, the world's simplest way to handle this is exactly what you said. What I would do if you wanted to do it that, just go that length of a change, I would suggest just putting in the permitted uses. Something that says if it was originally built as a duplex, it can be returned as a permitted use.
You know, I think that we need to keep changes simple.
Okay.
I mean, that's my favor as opposed to, you know, I was kind of first on council when, in 2009, when that all came about. It just kind of went over my head because it was a big thick book that, you know, and admittedly was copied from, Mayor, you referred to this last time, you know, by a consultant. So it wasn't specific to Galleon, but I'd like to try and keep this simple for this, you know, for the party's sake in this particular, but also Mr. Baldinger. I mean, he's got, you know, enforcement issues, a ton of them, and I mean, this would just add more complexity than I think is necessary.
Okay.
I think we should look again at the zoning, but that's not gonna happen, I don't think, in a committee meeting or, you know, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I agree with you, Doc. I think based on trying to remember our conversation from last month, it seemed that the whole crux was that we had some folks that wanted to restore, I'll use that term, restore a older structure that had once been a duplex, but because it had not been a duplex within the time frame, the state law had taken and essentially made it a single family. So the idea to try to be able to put in some type of mechanism to allow that to happen in those situations. Good example, you pointed out one structure. I know the other structure was down on, I think it was Union Street, that has, I mean, there's structures out there that are older homes that have distinctive 2 entrances that is obvious that that's what these are. I think we need to find some avenue to allow those to happen, whether it be some type of a review, and maybe in a situation where it goes to a review to make sure that it is actually a prior used duplex. You know what I mean?
I think, Doc, and that would be my question for you now. What Doc was suggesting, I interpreted as simply in addition to a permitted use schedule, so that the planning commission wouldn't need to be involved. Eric could on his own approve those. And if there's some question in terms of the appearance of whether it was originally two-family, that's something that would be a question at the time, and we could work through that. But again, if you want to have a review of it, as you're talking about, Mike, that would be a conditional use.
Right, still same thing. I agree with Dr. Keller. I don't want to be putting a whole lot of meat into the ordinance in that regard. Because I think that it gives the opportunity, if we can find an avenue, it gives an opportunity for the folks that are trying to renovate structures that were obviously not going to be something somebody's going to buy as a single family and change, or they're just not going to buy it as a single family. It's not. If it's already, I'm saying it wrong probably, but if it's already basically has two entrances, walkways, the whole 9 yards, I'm thinking of a couple of homes here in town right offhand that those structures, for somebody to buy those for a single family, that might not be as inviting a proposition as it would be as if there was something that was more of the standard when entrance, or what I'm saying in that regard. I'm probably talking over quite a bit to this, but.
May I weigh in, or were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say, I agree with Dr. Feller to add in just the simplicity of that, but I also kind of like this tip-in conditional use, because Mike, I think that is kind of encompassing what you're saying about wanting it to go through to make sure that we have a description and to make sure that the landscaping is appropriate, and that the services can be turned on, and that the traffic is safe and all that. So I think that if we went with the conditional use, that would allow single-family homes to be converted into multifamily. But if we go with what Dr. Fellner said, that would only allow existing duplexes to be rehabbed into duplexes. Is that right, Tom?
And I think that's what I was trying to
Yeah.
avoid is that conversion.
Okay.
Where there's been conversions that are really nice, and then conversions that aren't.
Right.
So I don't want to even address that as a conditional use. What we were talking specifically, and I know you weren't here, the property in question was built as a duplex, and probably in an area that it was allowed before the rezoning, and so then it was abandoned, rezoned, all of a sudden can't do it. So, and I don't want every case to come in front of a panel, because that's like, well, who's gonna make that decision? Who merits it, who doesn't? So this little thing I'd like concise and simple, and then, other cases are gonna come up, and, we can maybe kind of address a conditional use after some more thought.
Issues gonna come up on, yeah. No, I agree with you, Doc. I mean, I don't wanna be so cumbersome. I wanna make sure that, that we're not opening the door up for somebody to come in and start just building duplexes in the community on RC. Because I know some folks they're for it, some are against it, and there's other issues involved, and that's the reason why the rezone was done, I'm sure, in 2009, because it is, for lack of a better term, sometimes when you get a duplex situation, in a perfect world, you have renters that are great, you have owners that are great. In the real world, that doesn't always come out to be the truth. And then unfortunately, then subsequently, the property owners that are in the area of that, sometimes run into issues.
Well, I'm just, sorry to interrupt, but,
Oh, no.
and I see what you're saying about building anew, and that's a
Right.
total different subject and not applicable, in my opinion, to this. That's why, concise, and again, they talk about spot zoning. I don't want a spot paragraph, part of the zoning
I guess
ordinance.
that's what I was
But
thinking.
it was an omission. You couldn't possibly consider every, consideration. So I think admittedly, it was an omission, and we should do the simplest thing to correct that. Mr. Mayor.
I think, Thomas, this is a good list. I'm sure you were anxious to see my reaction to it. This is a good list. I don't even want to say a good start. Of the list, you've got 2 college towns in here. And so you need to kind of factor that in terms of demand for duplexes. I had no expectation that the council or the committee would produce something and we get this fixed. I think this needs to be looked at. I think this hasn't gone to planning commission.
No,
I
it
kick
hasn't.
this out to my suggestion is
Yes.
maybe to put this with a header on it tomorrow saying this is what this is and put it on the city website so folks can look at it.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to analyze it, but there may be a couple of poison pills in here. And I'll mention one in Worcester that may be a poison pill, is that if you're side by side, you're okay. But if you have been
Correct.
upstairs, downstairs forever, no matter how, like, man, that really looks nice, I couldn't even tell. It's out.
Yeah.
Looking at other examples, I think that's important. The other poison pills have to do with minimum dwelling size, and I have 100-foot width. Is that wider than the standard residential?
As far as lot or house?
Yeah, for residential.
You just have a lot.
Lots, yeah. Most lots are like 60 foot, 60 to 70 foot.
So that's a poison pill. That's just, if you only had 100 feet, you could do this. Sorry about your luck. So I've noticed that just reading through it. So the dwelling size, 1,000 square feet, one's 1,100. I hate to measure all the apartments in town. A lot of them wouldn't measure up. So if I make, so that's what I would say. Take a look at this.
Well, I was gonna ask real
And,
quick that the committee actually has just seen this.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah, we have not.
Right.
Yeah, there was no intent to decide anything tonight. This is a ongoing discussion.
Here's the thing I'd say about Tip City, my friend, is like it's 4 pages. That makes me nervous.
Tell me about it.
So it's like, wow.
The
This
reason,
is-
I'll just say this, because Tom and I did talk about what kinds of cities you'd look at. Tip City, if you look at the 2020 census, it is the closest city in Ohio in population to Gallia. And it is a somewhat similar city. It's a non-county seat, it's not a college town. There's another larger city near it in the same county, and so it might make sense. to look at Tip City.
Charter, city manager.
Oh, if you're gonna go to non-charters, you're not gonna have many to choose from.
I'm trying to make light of the series.
Yeah.
Maybe I should stop.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think this is a really good starting point. But if our lot sizes are 60 foot, and that requires, duplex, you gotta have 100 foot, you aren't facilitating anything but a kind of, a wink, we're smarter than you.
Well, I think,
So if there's other guys who want to say something, I'm going to want to make one point. I don't know if we know whether a duplex isn't a smart build. I don't know the incremental cost, I'm not sure, that might be, hello Tom, how are you doing?
Good.
Good. So anyways, I'm just, I recognize this guy, I didn't misidentify him, but so that's the only thing I'm saying is that as we're looking at this, if if there's a particularly bad single family in a block and someone comes in and buys that, rather than forcing them to put up just a single family, if you could put a duplex together, that may be a better business deal and may get new duplexes built. So I want to have, I don't have much to prove that, but it seems to me that if you have that expanded lot size, you're effectively, oh, we fixed it. Oh, you didn't fix it. Because it won't work in the real world. So I think that's all I gotta say.
I think you can, what Tom is saying, you could do that through the review process with the conditional use or special permit. And so it's not necessarily it's gonna be that that's the lot size in a particular situation. But then it would need to be someone looking at it to say why.
Yeah, and I think that's getting down into a little more nitty gritty.
Well, that might be step 2 or 3 as you're taking this path.
And I know this gentleman's dying to say
Are we
something.
allowed to comment?
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Okay. A lot of those lots are 40 foot wide, and I believe that one is also.
Which, well,
The lot
then
you're talking about.
Like he's in the Grove Avenue, your backyard, right?
Yeah, I want to have
those
those.
two, yeah, okay.
So,
Forever, right? Like
or 358
like
is
forever, right? Haven't you lived there forever?
43 years.
Yeah. That's
So
forever.
I kind of know about lots.
In fact, it's more than forever for half these.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than forever.
Right, right. Well, again, it's,
Just looked at it yesterday.
But it wasn't a duplex until 1980.
well, again, this is a discussion we're having, because of issues that were brought up, to the committee, last month. So, again, this is all new information that we just got, and like I say, I agree with Dr. Feller in the sense that we want to try to, whatever we decide in that regard, to try to keep it as very poignant as possible, and whatever is decided on it.
It was originally a one family dwelling and around 1980 it became
That's
duplex. And I'm not sure how that transpired, but it hasn't been such for 6-7 years.
Right, right.
And if I might, on the property on Grove,
Right.
okay, that the issue there is the current owner wants to put that back into the market as a triplex.
Right. It's only 1,830 square feet.
Okay, so that's,
That would be very,
yeah, so that's a little, so that's one set of cases where we have. The other one is the folks behind you who have the side-by-side on South Union.
That was a true built duplex.
Yes, it was built as a duplex, always been a duplex, it just got, we
true
went
built,
from
yeah.
15,000 to 10,000 as a community, like, that's where some of those people used to live, it doesn't, it just hasn't functioned as a duplex, and I don't know, do we know? Do you guys
No, they were living there as a duplex.
know? Yeah,
We were not able to provide a
Oh, yeah.
minor because, however, they were living there.
yeah, I got you,
They
I
were
got you.
doing other things there, so.
All right, I understand.
Sticking with the general theme, like talking about which ones were built as a duplex, just moving forward.
Yes.
And this might be better for Eric and Mr. Palmer. How hard is that to go back on some of these early 1900 homes to find if they were truly built? If we do, if that does end up becoming a rule, I'm just wondering how hard that's going to be to prove in the future. I know just searching for water, I mean, you guys were digging through some paper files from,
And that was a concern growing up that is what stipulations are gonna be there to be that determining factor,
if that was feasible,
to make it black and white.
It was very much my first thought, was like, you're gonna make a list of these that were built as duplexes. I mean, some are obvious.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying you can't, and one of the things about this is that there is a, you know, if there is a list made or whatever, it can just be an easier situation. And again, if there's no conditional use approval, they can just go to Eric and have it signed off on, and nothing else needs to happen.
But just another, I'm interested in allowing, the kind of duplex townhouse looking stuff that's at the corner of North Columbus and Summit Street. They're big lots, they're, I don't know, they're as attractive as other houses in the neighborhood. I think that's the way some of those lots will live again, quite honestly. I don't want to get into zombie talk and all that kind of stuff, but if there's some of these properties, if you don't wipe them out, either through land bank acquisition and they're not going to meet some of the aspirations of the 2008, 2009 zoning code. They're just not. It's been 15 years. They're not budgeted. So I would not, while we're looking at this, I wouldn't want to forestall. You just take a lot, wipe out the small home that's there, and put a duplex, the classic mother-in-law suite.
That's kind of the line I was trying to find. There's some creative approaches in this.
Right.
And some of them talk to what you're talking about is in terms of new build and fitting in with the neighborhood, and there's some review process to look, so they're not building something that looks avant-garde. There's, you know, some new properties in the community we all know we don't care for, conventionally. I mean, people say they don't care for it. Right. But you're right, there's the filler home on Walker Street. That's a nice house.
Yep.
If you know what I'm talking about.
So anyways, I just,
Yeah.
as we look at that, not foreclosing or locking out duplexes just by definition. You know, we'd let you put up a single family home, but nobody wants to build something that large, I think. That's kind of what I think will happen. I don't know, my opinion. Homework assignment, Professor Richard.
Members, do you have any other thoughts or
Who has
questions?
questions? Everybody might have questions on that.
Folks, do you have any questions for us, or, like I say, this is essentially this is the second meeting, so, for this particular, item, so, you know, by all means, if you do come up with any suggestions, thoughts, or whatever, we're all listed, so please let us know.
Can I ask the Oots a question?
Yeah.
So how long, are you hanging, that sounds really good, typical government thing. Like, you'd like to, are you ready to occupy that? You have a tenant?
We have work. We have work to go in and do, but obviously I contacted Eric, right, to get the permit so I can rewire the house and do everything, and that's when I ran across this issue. So I need to be able to fix the utilities correct. That's
Before you sell
that's
it, yeah.
first.
It was just kind of just worse buying time, wasting time.
Well, I don't want us to just keep dribbling for the sake of it, or that we, trying to get an answer relatively soon, but I wanted to make sure at the next meeting didn't walk a tenant in here. This is our tenant. I don't want to.
No, we have work.
We're trying to improve trust on this and and allow it to happen versus no. This is how it is, and we're feet are stuck in the cement.
And I think one good thing is that you guys came to Mr. Golding from the beginning, and we're talking, so I think that shows some, you know, responsibility in your building and your, you know, how you do things. I think that that's a good thing, that you are responsible being owners and landlords in the future. So I'm glad to hear that we are looking more at how we can make this work for you guys and for more people in the future, you know, who want to rehab these properties in town. I think that that's a great step in housing and economic development and everything else that we need to do and focus on. So
I have
I'm
a
happy.
question. Did you not check and see if it was residential or duplex before you bought
The
it?
tax card reads as a multi-family home.
But the auditor's report says it's a single family.
home.
The auditor's not legally, it has no holding legally.
And it's also zoned that way.
Yeah, that's what everybody.
So to
How
go
are we
in,
supposed to know how it's zoned? If the
You
auditor's,
check.
I think, correct.
you check,
How do you do that?
and
Well, the city map has an RC.
I've got a city map right here, it says it is.
But who's
I got that, took me 5
who's to say
seconds.
that's changed?
Well, I think, folks, what we're trying to do here is try to, like Dr. Feldman indicated, maybe, fill in a gap, for lack of a better term, for everybody concerned. And that's why we're having the discussion, as opposed to, like the mayor said, that it's just one way and this is it and that's it. So, you know,
I just, it's 1,830 feet, it's not a three-family dwelling. That's 610 square feet of family.
you're talking
That's,
about.
you've been talking about duplexes, that's
Right, there's
cramming,
there's different situations involved. We're gonna obviously have this as a discussion feature for our next meeting, which will be next month. Essentially the first Tuesday, Dr. Frederick, I'm sorry.
Well,
do you know what
I was-
that is?
May 4th.
May 4th? Okay, thank you.
I was wondering, maybe make a suggestion to Mr. Palmer. You said that you were gonna present this to, what?
The planning commission,
Okay,
they'll be meeting.
and that will be obviously a lot of detail and, you know, I would bet no decision comes out of that either at that first. But I would also like you to consider the simplified version and, you know, email us so that, you
I'll do
might,
that.
you know, consider moving forward a little faster on that.
I can email out something that could.
I don't know that I can promise you that we'll get it done for you, but we'll sure try.
I'm sorry.
I says, I'm not sure that we will get it done for you in planning and zoning, but we'll sure try.
Oh,
We'll make every effort to bring, so when you come to the May 4th meeting, you'll have something in front of you that you can actually discuss and recommend forward.
And I wanna thank Dr. Felder, because that's exactly what I was going
Okay.
to suggest too, so. And I'm with the nod of, Ms. Alt here, and she agrees with that, so let's plan on having that,
Okay.
process
Okay.
through, and then, we will move on from there. Anything else on this subject? Anyone? Is there any other?
Mike, I would
business?
say if
Yeah, go
the
ahead.
committee has, gonna read this, gonna go to the 3/5 of the planning commission sitting.
It's true.
Ken.
Yeah.
So getting feedback after you read this about other issues that you see, in addition to the ones I think I just saw through, I think those are important.
Sure.
So to
Agree.
I'm really, I think that the ability to build new duplexes under certain circumstances is something that we ought to fish out of this. And so I'm not sure if we can reel that one in, but I think there's, I think that what they're doing there was built that way. I think there's a market for that.
Oh, I agree. I think so too.
The single. And we got builders in there, so I'll just shut up. But the electrical, the plumbing, all of that stuff, if in a duplex setting, it's almost 2 for 1. So you can get some economies there. I mean, it's the reason they wanna build 3 stories of apartment complexes, because they can increase their multipliers. Oh, well, that's all I got. Thanks for.
Sure.
I
So,
make a motion to, oh, sorry.
almost. As I mentioned earlier, the next meeting is May 4th, 7 o'clock here, and Dr. Felder.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn by Dr. Felder,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Hall. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We are adjourned at,
7:50.
okay, at 7:50. Thanks everyone for coming.